Bela vista, né? Eu costumava vir muito aqui antes.
Posso fazer uma pergunta pessoal, tenente?
Todo androide tem muitas perguntas pessoais ou é só você?
Vi a foto de uma criança na mesa da cozinha. Era do seu filho, certo?
É. Ele se chamava Cole.
Antes do quê? Você disse... Eu vinha sempre aqui antes. Antes do quê?
Antes de nada.
Não estamos progredindo nessa investigação. Os divergentes não têm nada em comum. Eles são modelos diferentes, produzidos em tempos diferentes e lugares diferentes.
Ah, deve ter conexão.
O que eles têm em comum é essa obsessão com o RA9. É como se fosse uma espécie de mito. Algo que inventaram e que não é parte da versão original do programa.
Androides acreditando em Deus. Para o mundo que eu quero descer.
Você me parece preocupado, tenente. Isso teria a ver com o que aconteceu no Clube Eden?
As duas garotas só queriam ficar juntas. Pareciam sentir amor.
Conseguem simular emoções humanas, mas são máquinas. E máquinas não sentem nada.
Mas e você, Connor? Parece humano, soa humano. Mas o que você é, afinal?
Eu não ligo para o que quer que eu seja, tenente. Seu parceiro? Seu amigo de saideiras? Ou apenas uma máquina? Feita para cumprir tarefas.
Sentiu alguma coisa quando a garota se matou, Connor? Ou só tá cagando pra situação?
Estava só executando minhas instruções. Fiz o que tinha que ser feito.
Posso te matar. E você vai voltar como se nada tivesse acontecido. Você tem medo de morrer, Connor?
Por que eu teria medo?
O que acontece se eu apertar o gatilho? Nada? Limbo? Paraíso Android?
Nada. Não haveria nada. Aonde vai agora?
Encher a cara. Preciso pensar.
Seu idiota!
Estacionamento para
Recolhe tudo e depressa!
Estacionamento para androides. Estacionamento para androides. Acessando a seção de extras.
When David and Guillaume got back in touch about making Detroit, I wasn't terribly surprised they decided to make it because the fan response was so intense. So it makes sense that they would choose to do that after the enthusiasm. It was a challenge, and it was just an interesting thing to get my head around how to approach this character now as a different, much older person, and whether or not she had changed. And I'm very happy to say that with Detroit, I've had the opportunity to see Kara grow so much more than I ever expected.
You do the housework, the washing, you cook the meals, and you take care of... God damn it, where the fuck's the rat gone now? Alice! Alice!
I mean, she starts out essentially how she does in Kara in a very, not robotic, but, you know, android, other way. And getting to take this journey where she becomes more and more human as it goes on. You know, and as an actor, that's a wonderful exploration in every way, whether it's how she sits, her posture, how her voice changes, how emotions change, and how much emotion is based on things like empathy and social experience. And so having, you know, as much material as I got with David to have this huge, nuanced arc was really incredible.
Why couldn't we just be happy?
This experience has been quite different than the experiences I've had shooting film or TV or doing theater work. I have 83 dots on my face and a really flattering black wetsuit type thing, and you're jumping around with props, and it's kind of like being a 10-year-old imaginative kid, which is fun. There's 80 cameras around us. It's already lit. So we just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot.
There's no change of sets, there's no hair and makeup, there's no wardrobe, so we move really fast, and we'll go through about 35 pages in a day. Working in TV or film, we'll probably do 6 pages a day. It's kind of acting boot camp.
It's like working out constantly. I mean, you're doing this thing, and then you got to do something that's completely other back to back to back. And so that kind of process of working is very challenging, but it's also very exciting because you just have to keep coming up with new ideas, and your head goes all over the place because you're trying to keep track of basically 4 different storylines for each different response.
You shot that girl, for fuck's sake.
It was a machine that looked like a girl. Yeah, I know what I should have done. I just told you I couldn't. All right, I'm sorry. The fact that David Cade, he's telling like many stories interwoven from beginning to end is super complicated and super impressive, and I have no idea how he keeps it all in his head.
He's not just the writer or the director who's seeing this from the outside eye, he's also thinking about the player walking through this space. You know, only somebody who really, really loves not the work, but like these characters and these stories and cares about doing something meaningful would invest that much in it. And it's always inspiring to work with somebody who cares that much.
My experience with motion capture is this one. And I found it sort of terrifying in a way because they said the computer's going to build you. But then as we got into it, I realized all the elements of it were still artistic. I just dipped into a really brilliant setup here. I've never seen anything like it. And this won't turn me into a product because I was playing a character. So it's wonderful.
In the game, Detroit comes back because of a revolutionary industrial rebirth. And there's no reason why that can't happen in Detroit, because they have such tremendous infrastructure for millions and millions of people who can very easily support, you know, a new industry.
The city is really strong and resilient, but the city has also been through so much. You see the damage. but it takes that time of kind of rebuilding and reinvesting into the city that I think is happening slowly but surely.
The potential of Detroit as a city is something that this game does a lot of justice to, because it would be easy to look at Detroit as some place that used to be, and that's not the case.
This game provokes a lot of conversation and reflection on our potential near-future engagement with machines.
That's what we are to them. Just merchandise on display in a shop window.
I think that a group that feels marginalized, feels like they deserve and have earned access to themselves and the environment around them, and are trying to figure out a way to articulate how to get freedom.
What was I designed to be? Their slave? Their toy?
It plays with your comfort levels. You think that this is fine, you're comfortable with it, until something blurs the line and throws you off, and now, do I feel differently about whether this should be allowed? Should it be banned? Should it be encouraged?
You're gonna ruin our lives, and for what? For a bunch of machines?
They are not machines! They are alive!
I'm alive! You're alive! They're nothing!
There are lots of comparable comparisons to any type of persecution of religion, race, etc., dating way back. It can't just be a video game where you shoot them up or where people make these choices to do whatever. I think that's the whole point. You have the choice, and you can either choose to go in one direction with your character or another. And I think that's going to be very telling about the gamer. Very telling.
I think there's going to be a really strong reaction to this game, which has such a strong perspective. I'm that much more proud of it now to get to be a part of it, because it's important.
In this game, you're actively building and designing the character through not just what kind of shield does he have or what color hair does she have, but like their temperament and the way they deal with problems. The different endings to this game are so radically different based off maybe seemingly insignificant choices in the moment, but like life, they all add up. And can't play life again, though.
Game after game, we try to challenge ourselves. For Detroit, we wanted to, first of all, to write a story that would be incredibly bending, which means the most non-linear story that we've ever created. And we wanted really the player to have the possibility to change the story, change his own journey.
When you're writing at Quantic, you're writing for an interactive medium. You know, when you're working in television, you'll put a character in a difficult situation, and you as a writing team will argue about what would that character do. But ultimately, you have to decide what happens, and you just show the audience. What's interesting about interactive drama is you bring the player into that conversation, and it changes your job slightly as a writer, because your job is to provide a narrative context in which the player can write his own story. You're giving him this kind of narrative Lego that he's going to snap together into his own shape. You also have the ability to make your audience attach themselves to your characters, because the audience is in some sense responsible for what happens to the characters.
It's just a few cans.
Come on, let's go. We have some cash now.
You used me to steal that money. How could you do that? I trusted you.
What is a bit specific about these scripts is how large they are. If you take a film script, there are about 100 pages. But here we have to deal with a script that is between 4,000 and 5,000 pages. Everything becomes bigger because we don't just tell one story, but we tell all the possible stories that can be told within this narrative space.
On Act 3, our final act, we have around 1,000 different scenarios. And every one of those scenarios has to be as interesting, as passionate, as strong, and as emotional for the player. We want every action that the player does, every interaction that is available to serve in telling the story, and help the player understand who his character is, and build that character moment to moment. We started with the intention pretty early on that we would never lie to the player. So we implemented a visible tree structure in the game that players can consult during a scene or at the end of it, which shows exactly what they did and what they missed. There are games out there offering world exploration. We offer narrative exploration.
You know, keeping control of such a wide and large story is a huge challenge. So same thing when you shoot with actors, because you will need to shoot many different versions of each dialogue, of each scene. For actors, it's a huge, huge challenge.
Because of the style of the game, you have so many different ways that the character can go. Every decision, it's what I call kind of choose your own adventure. Like every decision that the player makes, it's going to open up 40 more pages of material and experience that ties in, which means as a performer, you have to try to continue to make things feel real that the player might not ever see, but also that in performance, it's not always connected to a previous act. It's grueling, it's hard work, but it's a great team and I enjoy doing it.
I was really frustrated, until I got to this point where I kind of was able to step outside of my own experience and even in a lot of ways my own process and be able to step outside of that and okay, this is something new, what do you need? How do I meet you there? How do I give you what you need and still feel like I'm doing what's right? And once I did that, then all of a sudden it got really fun. It was much freer and having to approach it in a new way and think about the player and think about how it serves them and what I'm doing for them or what I'm letting them into. It's really, I think, helped me grow in general.
Remember, there's nothing on the left. That's a wall, so it's probably all there. And then make her come first, close. But I think you would go first to check that it's safe.
Okay, sure.
The most enjoyable thing about working in performance capture on this kind of project is that if I shot a film, I would get to do one of these endings. I get to do so many different things as Connor. Your head goes all over the place because you're trying to keep track of basically 4 different storylines for each different response.
What's the name of my dog?
Buddy? Scout. I think it's Jack. I can't remember. So I worked with physicality a lot because it was a good way to anchor myself in these different rings of the tree. As the story grows out, I know where that is physically in my body, and then I can switch more continually on set, and it'll be entirely up to the player to determine what order those things come out and what they look like from a distance. Like if you're playing through it, the culmination of all of that will be their version of Connor. I'm faster than you, and I don't feel pain. You don't stand a chance against me.
Listen, asshole. If it was up to me, I'd throw the lot of you in a dumpster and light a match to it.
Shooting action scenes at Quantic Dream is a real challenge because these are scenes where the storytelling has to continue. It's not an action scene just to have a dose of adrenaline. The stunts have huge consequences on the rest of the story. It's really a moment where we implicate the player and tell him that the choices he makes during an action scene will have a direct impact on the evolution of his story.
My biggest challenge on Detroit has been managing the large number of animations that we received from motion capture. Detroit features more than 37,000 animations, which is a huge amount to handle on a daily basis.
You have to realize that the player, in his first playthrough, will miss certain scenes. This also means that we had to think of, conceive, and produce all the potential story paths. The characters' costumes, the places, day or night, the weather. Did the character get shot in the shoulder? Did he get injured? All this consistency forced us to produce a lot of graphic assets in order to, quite simply, allow the player to have true continuity throughout the story.
Honestly, we were...
For starters, what should I call you?
I'm Chloe. And you, what's your name?
Oh, John. My name is John.
Delighted to meet you, John.
Could you tell us a little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
But this is the first time in history that man has created a machine more intelligent than himself. I gather your brain can perform several billion operations per second. Is that right?
Absolutely. But I only exist thanks to the intelligence of the humans who designed me. And, they have something I could never have.
Really? And what's that?
A soul.
In the space of a few years, androids have completely transformed the world in which we live. By letting androids into our homes and factories, the CyberLife company has made them everyday technology. The founder of CyberLife, Elijah Kamsky, is a very discreet man. Despite being the CEO of the highest valued company in the world and being voted Man of the Year by Century Magazine, he remains a mystery for most people. That's why we at KNC are so excited to be here as CyberLife opens its doors for the first time. Elijah Kamsky, could you please tell us where we are?
Certainly, and welcome. We're currently in CyberLife's production center in Detroit, where all models are designed and manufactured. More than 10,000 androids come off the production line every day.
Fascinating. Could you tell us what your goal was when you founded CyberLife?
Well, I simply wanted to use technology to carry out all of our most annoying and repetitive tasks, so we'd have more time to enjoy life.
I imagine you must have faced many challenges.
Yes, there were technical challenges, but the hardest thing was to design an object that we would want to welcome into our homes. We had to imagine a machine in our own image that resembles us in every way, that moves, breathes, blinks like us, but yet is smarter and more capable than any human being. Let me show you around.
We're here in Production Unit 4. Could you explain in a few words how the androids are made?
Sure, yeah, it's very simple. We use machines to manufacture machines. The removable parts are assembled on a production line, and then we apply a synthetic skin to the whole body. A human operator checks the cognitive abilities with a pre-established protocol, and finally, the android is conditioned and sent out throughout the country. Here's the result. Say something.
Hello. I am a RZ400 model. How can I be of service?
You can go now. Our androids are already replacing humans in many fields. For example, they represent more than 80% of all university professors and 63% of all medical staff. Tomorrow they'll replace our soldiers, and who knows, maybe one day, our leaders, to make the best decisions in humanity's interest. Come on.
Replacing humans with machines has led to record unemployment of 28%. What do you think about the situation?
Okay. The first steam engines also caused an increase in unemployment. But no one today would imagine turning back the clock. Artificial intelligence makes everyday lives easier. Nothing can stop progress. What's happening here is inevitable.
These days, more and more people choose to live with an android rather than another human being. Does this development worry you?
Everything's much easier with an android. They obey your orders without ever complaining. They can cook, discuss philosophy with you, have intimate relationships according to your desires. They never say no. Obviously, they are the perfect partner. Everyone deserves happiness. Why deprive yourself of so-called moral reasons when a machine can make you happy?
Many science fiction books tell the story of how machines become more intelligent than us and end up confronting us. Aren't you worried about that possibility?
I understand the irrational fears about artificial intelligence, but I assure you that will never happen with a CyberLife android. They're designed to obey humans. They're machines. They can't ever develop any sort of desires or form of consciousness.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely certain. You can trust me.
Seu idiota! Recolhe tudo e depressa! Estacionamento para